Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. One of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts Alex and Sean. On this episode, we're going to be talking about a lot of anger with this Cubs team and this stupid, ugly series that I didn't like. And we'll be talking some goodness with the White Sox and a cool first pitch for the White Sox game. But first, I'd like to thank sponsor the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Season's over now, unfortunately, but that shouldn't stop you from heading on over to icehawks.com. Get a hat, shirt, jersey, sign up for season tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex.
Hey.
I don't know how to bucket how I'm feeling about the direction the Cubs are headed in, and more importantly, what I feel about this series in general.
Yeah. Well, it's like when one thing goes right, another thing goes wrong, and then when that goes right again, another thing goes wrong. It all started with the bullpen, which, throughout the year has struggled outside a few hot streaks. But what's really pissing me off, this team cannot come up with a clutch hit to save their lives. They can't come up with a good at-bat. I mean, their runs are scored on solo shots and, RBI ground-out fielders' choices. Or Yu Darvish, hitting pop flies while the rest of the team can't do anything to drive in a run. It's maddening.
Yeah, I'm absolutely glad you brought that up because during the Cardinals series, the extra innings game, there was the bad call by Laz Diaz that possibly changed the outcome of that game. But granted, that was a terrible call. It was a terrible call that went against us, and it was a terrible call at a bad time. But the fact that it had to come down to that call is the part that's really bothersome to me. Is what was that game, 0 for 10, 0 for 9?
It shouldn't have come down to that.
Right. We were 0 for I think 08, 0 for 9, something in runners in scoring positions in that game. If we could have come up with a couple of hits, that the game doesn't even go to extra innings.
Heck, Albert Almora Jr. hit a 2-out triple. I think it was either the 7th or the 8th. Bodie comes up, gets a hanging slider, pops it up. If he gets a line drive base hit, they probably win 2-1 because the Cubs pitching staff shut him down the rest of the way. Again, that was the game when Yu Darvish was the only one who could drive in a run. You had so many situations where you could have gotten more runs, and you didn't. And you knew the whole time that it was going to cost them. Yu Darvish was mowing down the Cardinals after walking the first two guys, and then the Cubs had chance after chance after chance to take the lead. They couldn't do it. And that's just one example of so many different times over the past week or two where that's happened. It happened in the Phillies series. It happened against the Reds. It happened against the Astros. And it happened this weekend.
If you have Yu Darvish throwing like that, giving you those kind of outings, you have to capitalize on those.
Yeah, absolutely. In the first inning, they had bases loaded. Nothing. 2 innings later, 2 guys on, nobody out. Nothing. And then Miles Mikolas, who has struggled mightily, said, hey, look at all these jams I'm getting out of. And then he settled in. And the Cubs didn't do much the rest of the way. You cannot throw these chances away over and over. Again, look at the Phillies series, that game 1. Even though they blew it late in the 9th inning, they could have scored so many runs off Arrieta. We were doing the show when that game was going on. And they couldn't drive in runs. You look at the 9th inning in the last game against Philadelphia. You had 2 on. Hayward 3-0. Doesn't throw Hayward a strike, but he eventually strikes out. And then Tyler Chatwood doubles. And then a terrible at-bat, and then a terrible at-bat to end it. Look at the series against the Astros. What were all their runs scored on? Answer for me.
Home run.
Thank you. Most of them solo home runs. In the game they won, where Kyle Hendricks pitched the gem, they had so many opportunities to expand that lead. Luckily, they didn't need it. But be honest. Weren't you sitting there thinking they're going to blow this after all those wasted opportunities? Because I did.
Oh, absolutely. I've got this complex coming up now where it's if you have a starting pitcher that throws a gem and you're not getting a lot of run support from your offense, that the bullpen's going to blow it. I just have that. It's sort of ingrained in me from early on in this season. It's a Pavlovian response, and it's just sort of how I see things now, and it's terrible to watch because you can't just enjoy the game. You just sit there with anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. When was the last time this Cubs team went on one of those just assault innings where walk, hit, walk, hit, just runner after runner after runner scores? When's the last time they've done that?
I can't think.
What was it? I mean, maybe the closest thing was last Saturday against the Reds when they won that game. They scored 8 runs then. Maybe in game 2 or game 3, whenever it was, against the Phillies, where they were down 3-0. Then Rizzo hit the home run, and then Elmore hit the grand slam. It wasn't a huge inning, but it was enough to win the game. Probably the last time they strung together some good hits in a big clutch situation was when they walked off against the Phillies, and that was over a week ago.
It's you're just not seeing good production from this offense, and it's not only that it's some bad luck or things like that where it just hard hit balls that are just at somebody or things like that, or somebody made a great play on you. You're just not seeing the good at bats,
right?
That's the part that's frustrating. Is I'm fine if people go on cold streaks because
it's
that's
going to
the
happen.
game.
Yes,
but I hate it when you see bad at bats. If you're swinging at bad pitches, you're getting underneath everything, popping up, or weak grounders. That's the frustrating part. Is it's like a mental state. Like they go up there and they're like, I need to do something, and they pressure themselves into doing something worse than if they would have just gone up there, fresh minded. It's just frustrating.
it is. I mean, they were really good in these kinds of situations early on in the season. And again, offenses are going to go through slumps. But it's been a little while now, and the fact of the matter is you're in a tight division. You have to wake up. You've lost first place. You're only 1.5 back in June. I know this isn't doom and gloom. This isn't, end of days, season over. But it's got to be a kick in the pants. You can't sit around and let the other teams catch up and pass you. You just can't. You have to wake up.
You've really got to look at the way the Cubs have played over the last couple weeks and in this division. This is a good division. And the way you've played lately, that you're only a game and a half out of first place. Like that should just be, you should just be going to sleep going, thank you, baseball gods. Because, you could easily be down 4 or 5 games in the division easily with the way you've been playing the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of the Cubs really being hot in April, in mid to late April and early May, which, again, it was not sustainable. We all knew they were going to go a bit on a cold streak, but I didn't think this cold streak was going to last this long, or at least look this bad. You're going to lose some frustrating games, but every game is freaking frustrating. That's the thing. And look, like you said, it could be a lot worse. Milwaukee is still good, and they're still winning some really annoying games, like yesterday when they were down 10-8 in the ninth, and they come back, and then they tie it, and then they go to extras, and the Pirates have bases loaded, 1 out, they don't score, and then the Brewers immediately win. You see that. But you see the Brewers have their weaknesses as well. And the Cardinals, what's frustrating about this series, the Cardinals came into the series reeling. You kind of had an opportunity not to bury their season, but bury them. Bury them down and really have to make them get hot to get back into it. Now they're back into it. Even if you just would have won one of those games. But, now they could be riding high again.
Yeah.
So it may be only June, but there's some significance to it.
Yeah, it's you've got to dominate these teams that are reeling. And as the Cubs, I mean, look, you lost all 3 games, but you very easily, had you not just offense gone into an ice cold slump, easily taken 2 out of 3. Easily.
Absolutely. You could have won today. Wainwright had no command. They walked 8 times, and they couldn't take care of any scoring opportunities. Their 1 run came in the 9th inning on a freaking ground out.
Yeah, I mean, you had 3 hits. 3 hits in the whole game. And that's not sustainable against the starting pitcher with almost 4.5 ERA.
Adam Wainwright is a throwing corpse. He's a rotting corpse on the mound, and they couldn't do anything. That's what's really frustrating. You lose last night's game. The worst part was bases loaded, nobody out, only getting 1 run on a ground ball fielder's choice, but there was a little bit of a deflection on that, but still, could have easily taken the lead there. But there was a 3-some-hour rain delay. Frustrating, but you could live with that. But Friday night and tonight, those losses were just mind-bogglingly annoying.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday's game, it sucks. You have the rain delay. A rare bad performance from Chatwood this season. That one chalk up, but the first and third games, those are so winnable. You just imagine leaving this series taking 2 of 3. Doesn't that just put you mentally and in the standings just in such a better place?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And look, we got to play these guys again next weekend. And you don't think they want to beat the hell out of us again?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We play them again in less than a week.
Yep.
Back-to-back weekend series. This team came and they stole 2 of these 3 games. Stole them. And
yeah, they really did.
It's just so frustrating, and I don't know what to say. You're starting to see the weak links in your bullpen, but it wasn't. You saw some. The bullpen wasn't the issue in the series.
It wasn't. They didn't lose any.
It was the cold bats. It's The Houston series, you saw some bad starting pitching. This series, you saw cold bats. It's like these different parts of the team are taking turns in who gets to be cold.
Yeah, that's what's really annoying. And you look at the Houston series. Look, Houston's really good. They're almost unbeatable at home. You wish that when you came back from like, what was it, 6-3 down, then you tied it and you immediately gave the lead back with 2 outs, nobody on. That game you could kind of wish you had back, but that's a good team, and Garrett Cole was really good on Monday, so okay, but the Cincinnati series was grueling. You saw Cincinnati just stick their bats out and get hit after hit after hit, driving in run after run after run, clutch hit after clutch hit. Something I just want to see this team do again, something that hasn't been there very much the past few weeks. Look, you weren't going to keep winning every series. You weren't going to keep up that pace. But when you get back into it, there are just things that have to be fixed. It's frustration over Doomsday, like we've said. But it's hard to sit there and say, oh yeah, it's fine, whatever. Fact of the matter is, this team offensively is lacking depth, and it needs more of it. And there's some slumps that you worry about. Baez, I'm not worried about his abilities. I'm worried about his health. He's clearly not 100%.
Yeah,
you can tell.
He looks off. That's a problem. You need to get him healthy because he's one of your top 3 most important players on your team. You need him healthy. You need a veteran bat that's going to come in here and replace Zobrist. And you have to at this point assume that your Zobrist is not coming back.
Yeah, I think it's getting by the day. I think it's getting more and more likely that he's not coming back, unfortunately, for him and for the team. Mainly for him because the circumstances, are bigger than a game for him, and it's very, very sad to see. But yeah, you're gonna have to move on from that. And oh boy, do I miss his bat or what?
Yeah, and it's I can't blame if he doesn't come back. He's well at that age where retirement is the norm. He's going through a major life change. He doesn't need the money. He's got young kids. I can't fault him, and I do understand if he just walks away. It sucks as far as being a Cubs fan. You would love him to come back and help give a boost to this team because they could use it. But the reality is you have to prepare as if he's not coming back.
The one tiny little selfishness in me says or wishes, and again, this is not me demanding anything from Zobrist. I've preached over and over that this is his business. He has to handle it the way he does, and the way he handles it. I just wish, and I want to say this as best I can without ever sounding insensitive, but I just wish we kind of had an answer. Is he coming back or is he not? Maybe he doesn't know yet, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? I kind of wish we can have an answer.
Who's to say, though, that he hasn't been talking with Joe, Jed, and Theo, and they sort of have maybe not a definitive answer, but an idea of the answer?
Oh, I think they know. I just wish I knew.
You're right. It would be nice to know.
But he doesn't have to tell us anything. He doesn't. Again, this is just that little selfish part of me that just wishes I knew what was going to happen with him. But he doesn't have to do or say anything. He doesn't. It's his family, his business. He handles it the way he needs to.
Right. And, I have a feeling that we're going to know a lot more in the next month or so because,
Yeah,
the
maybe.
Cubs organization front office is going to have to go to him and be like, hey, we're coming up on trade deadline. If you're not going to be back, we need to figure something out and make a move. If you're coming back, you sort of know, we need to know, and not to put pressure, but as the organization, we just have a better understanding of, do we have to move on or not? And so I have a feeling that, and I think he understands where that is.
I'm sure. Yes.
So you just, you would love to have him back, because is any free agent that you're going to, any trade candidate you're going to get, are they going to be as good as Ben Zobrist right now?
Right. Now, there's this whole conversation coming up now because it's confirmed that Ben Zobrist hasn't been being paid. That's my understanding, right? He's not being paid during this?
Yes. This is an unpaid leave.
Right. So there's this talk that the Cubs are going to use money if he doesn't come back to sign Craig Kimbrell. The way I see it is, if you're going to go after Craig Kimbrell, it shouldn't matter about Ben Zobrist or not. Stop with the bullshit "we have no money" stuff. I don't want to, I'm sick of hearing that.
Here's the thing that frustrates me is, you're like, well, we've been saving the money because we haven't paid Ben Zobrist. And then you come out with, well, we realize there's going to be an influx of money next year, so we can just start spending it now. They realized, all right, there's a lot of holes in this team that we were hoping would just magically fill themselves. And if we don't want this to be a lost season, we're going to have to pony up some of the money. And if we just start spending without coming up with where we got the money, fans are going to be pissed, because we flat out told them there's no more money. Nothing, there's no squeezing left to make money come out. And suddenly they're like, okay, yeah, we didn't build this team as best as we could have. And some of the glaring holes are pretty glaring. We've got to figure out a way to tell people we got some money. It's like, well, we haven't been paying Ben Zobrist. Oh, this TV deal is going to come. Money is going to come sooner than we thought. It's double talk. It's, they're just hand waving here. But the reality is, they do have money, and they need to spend it. What they don't have is a lot of trade capital.
No, they do not. They do not have the assets for that. I don't want to make Ben Zobrist's situation about clearing up. It shouldn't be about clearing up money to get other assets. It shouldn't be that way. I really don't like using his situation as something for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, oh, he's going through a divorce. Yeah, this is an opportunity to free up cash. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't.
Nope. If it's a byproduct, then okay, but it's, don't sell it as like a positive. It's don't celebrate somebody's pain, the benefit you're getting from somebody else's pain and suffering.
Right. It shouldn't be that way. This should all be unrelated to what Ben Zobrist does. I mean, the only thing you're going to do in response to Ben Zobrist is, if he says he's not coming back, then you try to, bring some guys in. Or if he does come back, then you make room for him on the roster. But nothing else should be related to that, I don't think. I don't think that. I was going to ask you this. What did you think of the Carlos Gonzalez signing?
I mean, it's pretty low risk. I don't really know what you're going to get out of him. It's funny. I was sort of like, when was the last time he was really good? Because in my brain, I'm like, it didn't seem that long ago. And and just sort of looking at the numbers, so 2016 was a great year. Batted 300, 855 OPS, 100 RBIs, 25 home runs. That was a good year. 2017, not so much, 762 OPS. But then 2018, he brought it back up to almost 800 OPS. Lost some power there, only 16 home runs. But you're like, okay, that's not so bad. And then he just really lost steam in Cleveland. Barely batted his weight. No pop in the bat. So it's not that long ago that he was serviceable. And so I just, again, it's a guy that you don't have to give up any real capital for. You don't owe him a major league spot. So I'm hoping that, that it can be that veteran depth bat that you need in this lineup for the long haul here for the season.
I think it was a really smart idea to take a waiver on this guy. You're not paying anything for him. It's a minor league deal. He's only 33 years old. You would think he's one of those guys where you think he's a lot older, but he's really not. He didn't do anything in Cleveland, like you said, but Cleveland has kind of been where hitters go to die lately. I don't know if you've noticed that, but that offense there is pretty bad. You bring him here, and he's not going to come to be a savior by any means. At least I don't think. But I feel like at this point you got to give him a shot because you're not succeeding right now. And what are you going to do? Keep Mark Zagunis and John Aducci as bench players?
Here's my question. If he, in these next 4, 5, 6 weeks, comes to the major league level and shows that he's a serviceable bat and is okay in the field, does he make it possible to trade Schwarber?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. Schwarber is going to have some value, which I think he does have some, but I don't think it's going to net you a whole lot right now. I mean, Schwarber's fielding has improved tenfold, but the hitting consistency has not been there at all. I don't know if Carlos.
I would say that Kyle Schwarber's leadoff abilities in this series against the Cardinals was not exactly what you were looking for, to say the least.
I was more upset with him just not coming up with big hits later in games.
Yeah, I feel like
watching strike three go by time after time.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's the guy that I think, honestly, if you're looking for a good at bat of the guys that you have available right now, if you need to come up with a big hit, right now he's low on my list.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he can draw walks, get on. What kind of irritates me is that I feel like a lot of his home runs they usually just come in games where the Cubs are already up like 5-1 or 7-2. He'll just hit like a solo home run in the 7th inning. We had that great clutch home run by him in Seattle. We've seen him be unbelievable in the postseason several years ago. But this season, when it comes to the big situations as a whole, outside a few times, just hasn't come through like the way we would want.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, in terms of Carlos Gonzalez, I have no idea what he's going to do. I think the potential ceiling is higher than some think, but I also think that there's a possibility where there really isn't much there. He could either be Jim Edmonds 2.0, like 2008, or he could be the May version of Daniel Descalso. It could be either or.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the thing is it's good timing of getting him now. You give him several weeks to see if he can do anything. I think the Cubs, if the Cubs are going to have to make a pretty bold move to legitimize themselves as a potential World Series champion this year. Not to say that they can't, as the team is structured right now. It's not like saying they can't win the World Series, but I'm saying to establish themselves as a front runner, I think they're going to have to do some bold things. They need to find a way to get a leadoff hitter. Schwarber's not going to cut it. I just don't feel like you can win a World Series with Kyle Schwarber as your leadoff bat.
Not long term.
You can't. I think you need a veteran bat, and you need a closer, like a closer, and I think you need one more bullpen arm.
I can agree with that.
And those are some big things to get at the trade deadline. So that's why the Craig Kimbrell thing is important, because he's going to sign this week.
Mm-hmm.
Because as of tomorrow, nobody will have to give up any draft capital to sign him. You don't forfeit your first round pick to sign him. So starting tomorrow, he's free to sign, him and Dallas Keuchel. And I think they'll go pretty quickly. I would be shocked if Thursday, we do another show and they haven't signed with somebody, because teams they've been free to talk. So I think there's deals in place. I think right now it's teams are deciding that final oomph of, all right, are we still in it, that we think is worth ponying up to pay this guy? And it's going to be teams bidding, because both guys I think are going to get multiple offers. But Craig Kimbrell is going to be important because you don't have to trade anything to get him other than dollars. So that fills a hole. Another bullpen arm, those I feel, middle, not a closer, just a middle relief guy, a live arm, not too bad to get. Pretty easy to get. It's going to be the veteran bat that's worthwhile and the leadoff guy. That's where you're going to have to be creative and figuring out how to get that guy.
Yeah, it's not as clear cut and dry when you don't have a farm system and assets to trade away. A few years ago, that was a different story, and not now. So it's going to be a lot tougher. With Craig Kimbrell, I just have that gut awful feeling the Brewers are going to get him. They're going to get him for some sweet deal. Look at the Brewers right now. They have Yasmani Grandal. They have Mike Moustakas. They have Christian Yelich, and they have Lorenzo Cain. They basically did nothing to get those guys. Cheap deals, except Lorenzo Cain, but even so, it was pretty much worth it. You traded nothing to get Christian Yelich. Mike Moustakas, you traded nothing to get him, and then you just re-signed him for one cheap year. All those guys are producing. That's really frustrating. And now I just have that gut feeling they're going to get Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see what happens. It's just a gut feeling.
My gut feeling is it's going to be the Braves.
Well, I'd rather he go to if he's not going to go to the Cubs, I'd rather he go somewhere not in our division.
Oh, absolutely. If he's going to go, not the Cubs, I want him to go to the American League. But who knows? Yeah, I'm just sort of looking at who's available that could be potentially available at the trade deadline. Shin-Soo Chu, who's from the Rangers. He's just
Yeah, but is he a DH more now? I don't know how much outfield he plays these days.
he is playing DH. Could he play corner outfield? I don't know. I think you could get him pretty easily because he's got a big contract. I think if you just eat some money. Let's see.
Oh, but we have none. Sarcasm.
What about Scooter Gennett? Do you think that Reds would trade him in the division?
No.
I don't think so either.
No.
Man.
And I don't think the Reds are going to sell off a bunch of guys because I think they have a pretty strong core, even though they may not finish high in the standings. I feel like they're going to want to try to build on that. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Because I think because if they sold a bunch of guys, it would basically just be hitting restart again on another rebuild for them, and they've been kind of doing that for a while now. I just think they're trying their very hardest to build a winner as fast as they can. I just don't see them selling off a lot of assets. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
Yeah, man. I'm not seeing a lot of options here.
A lot of people are talking about Whit Merrifield from Kansas City, but I think that's going to cost a little bit.
I think so too. The only thing is, because of that contract, are they willing to take less in prospects if you take on more of the contract? So I think he sign almost a $20 million contract extension.
Whit Merrifield?
Yeah.
I don't know what his contract looks like. I just know the Royals are listening to offers for everybody. So he's going to be on the market. I can look at his contract now.
He would be interesting.
He's only 30 years old. Just keep that in mind. But that's not that old. Yeah. So he's signed through 2023. Club option 2023.
Yeah. So, if you're willing to eat a lot of that contract, you could probably give up less prospects. That's a potential out there, but yeah, there's not a ton of options because, you're going to be looking at American League teams, I'm imagining, unless somebody drastically drops off in the standings over the next, month or so, in the NL, because, nobody's really totally out of it.
Except the Marlins.
Marlins are out. Reds feel like they got a good team. And, what do the Giants really have?
If you're going to go to the Giants, you go for their bullpen arms. They're bullpen guys from that team I want, but no bats. No bats.
So really, there's nobody in the National League. American League, what are the Orioles? The Orioles don't have anything. The Blue Jays got to be sellers.
But a lot of their guys are young prospects. Two of them have to be the sons of Hall.
The Royals are going to be sellers. Tigers are going to be sellers.
Nothing.
Yeah, the White Sox will be sellers, but they're just going to sell, bullpen arms. That's it. Mariners, man, after a real great start, they're going to be sellers.
Fire sale. There's one intriguing name that's, I don't know exactly how well he'd fit in. A lot of people bring up D. Gordon from the Mariners, but here's the thing: he's a high average hitter, but he doesn't take his walks. So his on-base percentage isn't much higher. I don't know how much interest the Cubs would have in D. Gordon. I don't even necessarily think he's the best leadoff hitter because of that. But, it's something that people have talked about.
It's a possibility. There's got to be somebody out there that can be that leadoff hitter.
I feel like whatever bats they add, it's going to be waiver claims. It's going to be minor league deals. It's going to be taking waivers on guys. I don't see a big splash for any big bats.
If they're serious about improving this team, they're going to have to make some sort of splash and give up.
But what do they have to give, though?
It's got to be a player that's on the active roster.
Who would you? I mean, obviously people talk about Schwarber, but I mean, who else would you trade that would garner a lot of value and you could be okay with parting with? You're not going to trade Rizzo. You're not going to trade Bryant.
Maybe somebody that's coming off a suspension and is suddenly really hot.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Suddenly boosting his, people are like, well, he beats his wife, but he's got a really good glove and boy, he's gotten hot. Maybe we could capitalize that because, we had a high opinion of him, in the minors. Maybe you could flip that, but that wouldn't be somebody you'd miss at all.
I wouldn't miss Addison Russell. It's still cringy watching him play for the Cubs, even though he has been playing better on the field. Still, I don't like him on the team. But okay, so maybe you have that. I don't think there's really anyone else. Not trading Bryant, not trading Rizzo, not trading Contreras, not trading Javi. You're not going to trade Jason Hayward. Don't think you're going to be trading Albert. Well, Albert Almora, you could involve in something if you have a replacement in center field. But how much value does he have?
That's the thing, is you have to have another center fielder and you have to get something for him.
Right. The other thing that I know a lot of people are talking about is, when is Ian Happ going to come up? And is Ian Happ going to be involved in a trade or not? Those things still have yet to be answered. Would Ian Happ, who's been doing better in the minors lately, provide anything for this team right now? I don't know. But I also feel like having Ian Happ on the bench is sadly better than what we have now. But if Ian Happ comes up and plays really, really well, I mean, do you see that as a vital part of your team, or do you see that as a possible trade chip? He's young, but I don't know.
I just don't know what sort of value he has.
I still think there's potential value there, but how much of it is what I don't know.
I just don't know what that value is. So, it's hard to determine because, he's gone through some bad stretches and he still hasn't figured everything out. He's still striking out way too much down in Iowa. So it's not like he's tearing things up down there. So I just, if you're somebody that's trying to trade with the Cubs and the Cubs try to sell you on Ian Happ, like, what's the selling point other than, he's still young?
I guess his career OPS in the majors being 801. His on base is 341. He's drawn 109 walks and 875 plate appearances. I mean, that's all I got. I'm looking at his Iowa numbers now.
You make a good point there. I mean, you make a good point, but I think it's hard with that recency bias to still sell that, because you'd be like, well, he really sucked the last however many games he played in the majors.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe someone would be willing to take a wire on that. I'm looking at his minor league stats now, and keep in mind he's been very hot and cold in the minors. If you look at his slash line in the minors this year and what he did last year, they're almost completely identical. Last year in the majors, 233, 353, 408, 761. That's OPS. This year in the minors, 238, 353, 423, 776. Incredibly similar.
Yeah, and what does he have his strikeout numbers?
He struck out 59 times in 189 at-bats, 224 plate appearances. So a lot.
Yeah, he's striking out a lot. The numbers aren't that great. They're not. I mean, the batting average is bad, but he's never going to be a high batting average guy.
No, he is. He's slugging at a more than average rate.
Right. That's the thing is,
and getting on base at more of an average rate.
Yes, is you look at the OPS is not bad. And I know average it's an old number, but it's not a useless number. You would like to see a batting average higher. It makes those walks and when you do hit it hard that much more impressive. He's kind of an all or nothing kind of guy at the plate. I mean, he just I don't know. I don't know what you're going to get from him. What position is he even playing in the minors? Do they still have him in the outfield or?
I think so. He may be playing some second base as well. I haven't really been paying attention to that much. I'm just
reading. I'm not like reading the box scores.
Yeah, I'm looking at like some of the stats, the hitting stats. I haven't really been paying attention to the positions, but if you want to hear a few things on his season so far in the minors, as a left-handed batter versus a right-handed pitcher, he's only batting 194. He's got an on base of 335, so he's still walking 5 home runs. When he's a right-handed batter facing a left-handed pitcher, he's batting 313, 371, 547. Also, with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, he's batting 344 with a 500 on base percentage and an OPS of 1,000. Just a few things.
I like those numbers.
Yeah. That's in 32 at-bats, 42 plate appearances. So, just pointing that out.
Yeah, I'm just quickly looking at some numbers here, and I'd say the Angels probably more likely to be sellers, right? There's this guy on the Angels that would probably fit perfectly for what the Cubs
Mike
need.
Trout?
He's getting on base almost half of the time. He's almost a 500 on base percentage. He plays center field. His name's Mike Trout.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if anybody's heard of him, but I think he could be a guy that maybe you could put a package together of Addison Russell, Ian Happ, Kyle Schwarber, bring that guy over, and I think he could help the Cubs.
Doesn't he play on Tommy La Stella's team? He's teammates with Tommy La Stella.
Is he?
Yeah.
Huh. Speaking of ex-Cubs, that I was driving past a funeral the other day, and everybody was standing outside of the funeral home, and somebody showed up at the funeral with their best Ryan Terrio jersey for the funeral.
Goodness. What's he up to these days?
I don't know, but I was like, man, I can't imagine showing up to somebody's funeral wearing a Ryan Terrio jersey.
Oh my God. That's funny.
Yeah, I was like, I did do a double take on that one. I'm like, is that the Riot shirt or jersey? And it was Cubs Terrio jersey.
Ryan Terrio jersey.
All right. I mean, they were full on with. They had the Cubs hat. They were wearing the Ryan Terrio jersey. They had, no joke, I can't make this up, they had Mardi Gras beads with like a Cubs pendant on it and flip-flops. They were at a funeral.
That's weird.
Yeah, everybody else it was like wearing, dress shirts and ties and suits, and Yeah, this person was making a bold
Maybe
choice.
he took a wrong turn. He was in the wrong place.
Maybe he was somebody's Uber driver.
Could be. But yeah, going back to that Mike Trout guy. Yeah, could you imagine if he somehow ended up on the Cubs? Something that will never, ever, 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 ever happen.
No, but that would be so sweet.
Yeah, I hope listeners didn't take you seriously.
I hope not. I'm just saying, is how cool would it be if Mike Trout played either for like a marquee team, like a Yankees or the Dodgers are a marquee team, but like the West Coast teams, it's harder because of the times difference. Can you imagine if he played for a Yankees, a Red Sox, a Cubs? Like what a household name he would be. I mean, the guy is the best baseball player in the world, and he just does not get the recognition.
Yeah, I know. It's what stinks for him is that he continues to be on these mediocre teams. Reminder, though, the Angels are going to be here Monday for that makeup game tomorrow.
We can get a close up look, when we're trying to trade for him.
You're just going to be like standing next to the dugout, like trying to convince him to come here to cancel his contract, drop out of it, and sign here.
You're just leaning into the GM of the Angels and holding up pictures of Schwarber or Ian Happ. Huh?
Offer them one of the video boards as well as a throw-in. Which one do you want? The left field one or the right field one? Huh?
We could put you on a restore hair billboard. Huh?
Beat it, Brian. It's Mike Trout now.
Get out of here, man cow.
You see that club over there? You can stay there whenever you want, free of charge. Huh? Did you raise your eyebrows?
Huh? I know where the last old style vendor is in Wrigley Field. Huh?
Maybe you could get Michael Reinsdorf to try to talk to him. Geigenfleifen.
I went to talk to him, but I peed my pants instead.
I tried to give him the convincing way of Chicago Fleifen, but he said that it wasn't interested in guy.
I went up there to talk to him, and I got choked on my words.
What would you do? Let's say it was Garpax trying to get this done. They'd be like, all right, you could give us Mike Trout, or we'll take Albert Pujols. That's what would happen. They would try to negotiate for Mike Trout and end up with Albert Pujols' ancient ass.
And pay his full contract.
We wanted to get younger and more athletic. Here's Albert Pujols, who's like 40.
Have you looked at Tommy Listella's numbers this year?
I know he's hit a buttload of home runs. I don't really know the slash line, but I could look that up right now.
He's batting .303, .526 slugging, .365 on base, .890 OPS.
Oh, God. He's going to hit a grand slam tomorrow, isn't he?
He's got 12 home runs.
34 RBI. Wow.
Oh my God.
Let's be real though. If he was on the Cubs, he would not be getting that playing time. He wouldn't be doing this if he was still here.
Yeah. How does this guy hit 20 points higher than the best numbers ever in batting average? Like, drives me crazy. This stuff drives me crazy.
Plays every day. Plays in a pretty hitter friendly environment. That's the way I do it. I mean, this Mike Trout guy has got to be honored to be this guy's teammate. Golden Flavin. Give us Mike Trout. We'll sell him on our Flavin culture. And in case you're wondering how many home runs everyone else has hit, Mike Trout now has surpassed him. He has 13. Cole Calhoun has 11. And there's Tommy La Stella with 12. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but that team still sucks.
Yeah, even with Shohei Ohtani coming back, and he's coming back, he's had some injuries. He's batting 250, 330, 3 home runs. Not sure we're going to really...
He's not back to pitching, right? He's just playing the outfield, right?
I don't think he's ever going to go back to pitching, frankly. I think he's just going to be a hitter now. Because remember, he was going to have Tommy John surgery. He couldn't pitch.
Yeah.
Kind of stinks, because that was going to be exciting to watch. But I hope he could at least turn into a good hitter, a good DH. He's shown the promise. He just kind of has to get it together, put it all together. He's only 24 years old, so he's got plenty of room to grow.
Man, you know what? I just quickly was glancing at Albert Pujols' numbers. He's been with the Angels for a long time now.
I know, ever since the start of the 2012 season.
I think this is his 8th year. And man, he's just put up dog turd numbers for the most part.
Yeah, for Albert Pujols standards, definitely. I mean, look at his first 11 years with the Cardinals. 328, 420 on base, slugging .617 with an OPS north of 1,000, 445 home runs. I mean, Pujols still hits 20, 30 homers a year with the Angels, but the batting average and on base, oh boy, is that dipped.
With St. Louis, he had a season OPS over 1,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. In 8 seasons with the Angels, do you know how many times he's had an OPS over 850? Once.
Yeah, that was his first year. Yee.
Man, that was a terrible contract. And remember, a lot of Cubs fans were like, Cubs need to get this guy.
Yeah, when Theo Epstein first came in, I was in high school, and every day I would go on the computers in the library and see if they signed either Albert Pujols or Prince Fielder. Because remember, they were both free agents the same year.
Yeah, either one of those would not have been a good decision.
No, not at all, because Prince Fielder's out of the game. He's been out of the game for a couple of years now. Really sad how that ended. And
Albert Pujols really should be out of the game. He's just making too much money. No reason to.
Yeah. I mean, right now, he's just kind of going for the record books. He has 642 home runs. He has over 3,000 hits. He's a lock, should be unanimous Hall of Famer. If he's not a unanimous Hall of Famer, there is really something wrong here. But I never thought I'd be sad to see the shell of Albert Pujols, because my childhood will always be filled with nightmares of him just destroying the Cubs. But you look at what a good character that guy is, and just the way he carries himself, you can't help but just always root for the guy. It's just sad to see a once mighty Titan fall.
Yeah, and here's the thing. He's hit the threshold for Hall of Famer on so many different levels.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got 3,000 hits, which is pretty much a guarantee for Hall of Fame. He's got 642 home runs. That should be a guaranteed Hall of Fame. He's 3-time MVP award winner. That should be a guaranteed Hall of Famer. So yeah, if he's not elected to the Hall of Fame, unless something comes out where it's like he's a steroid user, then I see he gets the Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds treatment. But other than that, this guy should just stroll in with a new pair of dance shoes, doing a little strut into it because it's unanimous.
He leads so many great hitters among the top in the list in so many great categories. There's one category he leads all time in that isn't good. Just one. Do you know what it is?
What?
Grounded into double plays. He's grounded to 385 double plays. No player in baseball has grounded to more double plays in history than Albert Pujols.
Huh.
Yeah, fun factoid. You want to know something else about Albert Pujols? He has never struck out more than 100 times in a season.
That's like some Frank Thomas type thing.
Yeah, that's insane.
Here's the thing is, it's Frank Thomas. He's like, as far as baseball history goes, like people don't understand how good he was. And unless you lived in that era, because I'm a Cubs fan. It would drive me crazy how good he was. It was unreal how dominant he was, but he just never really got the recognition. I think part of it is just the White Sox. There's certain franchises that just their players don't get the recognition, and the White Sox are one of them. If Frank Thomas played for the Yankees, he would be, listed as one of the best baseball players ever.
And the other thing with Frank Thomas is when the White Sox were relevant in the spotlight, when they won the World Series in 2005 and, they were good in the mid-2000s, Frank Thomas was on his last leg and he was on his way out. Because 2005 was the last season he played with the Sox, and he only played in 34 games that year, and he only played in 74 games the year before. So by the time the Sox got really good, he was pretty much at the end of his career. Now, he did win a division title in 1993 with the Sox. He was on that 1994 Sox team that probably could have won the pennant had the strike not happened. But you look from 1991 to 1997. Those numbers are staggeringly good. If you just calculate it right now, 1991 through 1997, he's played in 1,016 games over that span. Here's his slash line: 330, 452, slugging 604, and an OPS of 1056, hitting 250 home runs, 823 RBIs, 1,198 hits. That guy, over that span, was as dominant of a baseball player as you can get. Back-to-back MVP winner.
Yeah, it was unreal. And man, I'm looking. When he went to the Hall of Fame, only 83% of the voters voted for him.
That's outrageous.
That's less than Ernie Banks. And I love Ernie Banks, but Frank Thomas is a better baseball player.
I hate to admit it, but you're probably right.
And that's not taking anything away from Ernie Banks. That's just giving credit to Frank Thomas.
I also hate comparing different eras, but you're probably right. Yes,
it is a less percentage than Dave Winfield, and I love Dave Winfield. Dave Winfield was one of my favorite players growing up, but Dave Winfield is not nearly as good as Frank Thomas. It's lower than Paul Molitor. It's lower than Bailey Williams. It's lower than Tim Raines. Lower than Barry Larkin. Lower than Robin Roberts.
That's ridiculous.
And not taking anything away from these guys. It's just Frank Thomas was so good. It is lower than Jim Thome. And I love Jim Thome.
I love him too. He's my favorite White Sox player ever.
But if you are starting a team and you're taking somebody in their prime, you're going to take Frank Thomas 100 times out of 100 times over Jim Thome.
Yeah, I mean, he has over 500 career home runs. His lifetime average is 301. His lifetime on base percentage is 419. I mean, slugging 555 and OPS of 974. It was pretty disgusting how underrated he was. I mean, in his prime, he was unbelievable.
I'm sort of just looking at the all-time, like the voting percentages for Cooperstown. There were 6 goofballs that didn't vote for Nolan Ryan in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's maybe one of them was Robin Ventura. He secretly was part of the voting committee and he just didn't want to vote for him.
5 goofballs didn't vote for Tom Seaver. 8 goofballs didn't vote for Cal Ripken. This one might be my favorite. 4 people didn't vote for Ty Cobb.
Well, Ty Cobb was an asshole, but yeah.
Yes, but that doesn't mean he wasn't a good baseball player.
Of course not.
9 people didn't vote for Hank Aaron.
Wow. That's unreal.
This is another good one. Hold on, let's see. 16 people didn't vote for Greg Maddux.
How?
I don't know. Is Greg Maddux and Chipper Jones had the same voting percentage?
That's ridiculous.
Who looks at Greg Maddox's numbers and be like, yeah, I don't think this guy should be in the Hall of Fame?
Dweeb kebabs. That's who.
Yeah. What's the opposite of a meatball?
That's a good question.
I don't know, but I feel like that somehow you need to truncate people that didn't vote for Greg Maddux for the Hall of Fame, and that's like the opposite of a meatball. It's like a different type of meatball.
Maybe it's like I don't know. I don't know how I do it. The opposite of a meatball. Yeah. I'll have to think about that one.
Yeah. So back to Cubs. I mean, it's June 2nd right now, so it's not like there's not a ton of real estate left to right the ship. It's just that the tools that they have to right the ship they're missing some tools.
Yeah.
The tools that they have are very good quality tools, but they don't have a full arsenal of tools to help right this ship. And, that's the issue. And the question is, what do they have to get all of the tools that they need? And that's why I think that Craig Kimbrell situation is sort of imperative, because not saying you can't win without him, but I think if you get him, then it becomes, okay, now we can use anything that we have that's not nailed down to, we can use anything that we've deemed tradable to try to throw it at other positions of need, because we've sort of nailed down the most glaring one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they got Craig Kimbrell, he's such a tongue twister, Craig Kimbrell, that would be a huge, I just think it would be a huge morale boost for this team. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it's a morale boost, and then I think it makes your bullpen better because it shifts people back into positions they should be. You can use situational pitching, which you've been doing for every inning where your starter's not in. You can start doing that without consideration of who's going to be your high leverage guy. You can just go in and be like, okay, who's going to be situationally be the best for having 3 lefties up the bottom of the order,
right?
Using Saber, the metrics. Okay, we're going to put this guy out there for the 7th, and then knowing that you've already got your lockdown guy for the 9th or 8th, whatever, depending on when your high leverage situation is, but usually the 9th. It makes it better because it puts everybody else in a position where they're better suited for, and not putting them
Well
in
said.
a position where
Well
they're
said.
not best suited for. And, Chatwood has been great for you this year. And there's been a lot of talk about
I
people,
don't want that.
can we put
Despite him
Chatwood
being
as the
good,
closer?
I don't want that.
I don't want that either. He's been good doing what you need him to do. And the problem is his worst attribute is he can walk a lot of guys. And that is not what you want in your closer.
We don't want another Mitch Williams or a Carlos Marmol.
So I'm happy. Yeah, I'm more than happy to have him, if come in and be a spot starter.
I'm
more than happy to have him be the middle innings guy. Then you actually bring in a legitimate closer to close games.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
Then you can use whatever capital that you have to try to bring in a veteran bat, a leadoff hitter. It makes it easier to focus on it rather than trying to allocate what little trade assets you have to multiple positions.
Yeah, spot on. I just wish we can see this team come back together where it was in terms of offense, because while the starting pitching scuffled for a little while, I thought it was really nice to see them bounce back in St. Louis. Despite being swept, you got to give the credit to the starting pitching. Cole Hamels was great today. Yu Darvish was really good Friday. Kyle Hendricks was great in his last game against the Astros.
Kyle Hendricks has been great over the month of May.
Yes, he has, sub-2 ERA. He's been very, very good. So you hope that can keep up. Just get this offense back and rolling, and you have your next few series at home. Use that to your advantage. Just got to get back on track here. Yeah. It's been very frustrating, but it's time to get back on track.
Yeah, even though this is a good division, there's a lot of chinks in the armor of your opponents. And the Brewers, who we were worried would be semi-invincible this year, have shown that they are not invincible. And they have left the door open for you, even though you've been playing pretty poorly over the last few weeks. They barely just took over the division lead from you. So that door is wide open for you. And so it's just striking while the iron's hot and taking advantage of any game you can. Because if we remember last year, at the end of the year, we're just praying, just come up with one more win. Let's come up with one more win here. Win this division. And those wins, you look on, Jed and Theo talked about it early in the season, is making every game count. And they missed the mark on that in the beginning of the season, and they missed it over this weekend. There was 2 very winnable games, and you just hope that they don't come back to bite you sometime later.
Absolutely.
I want to quickly talk White Sox.
Yeah.
Nothing fantastic this week, but they've been playing pretty darn good baseball. And I quickly looked at the standings. They are in second place and 1 game under 500.
Yeah, I think that the White Sox are showing that they're ready to start turning a corner. I really don't think this year is the right year to buy with assets. I think if you want to spend a little money, you could do it. You got plenty of it to spend. I don't think they should trade any assets, though. I think that's going to start next year because I think they're still 1 year away from legit going to a playoff. They may be in the hunt this year throughout, but I just still think they're 1 year away from doing that. But I think they could finish around 500, maybe even a little better at this rate. You're going to play in this division. You got a chance.
I think they got a real good, legitimate chance of going over 500 for the season. I you're right. I don't think playoffs are in their future for this year. There's a lot of ground to catch up for in the division lead. I mean, they're like 12 games out of first, so that's a lot of real estate to catch up. But, and I just don't know if they have, I guess, the experience to make a wild card run. But I just feel you're doing your team a disservice if you don't try to give them the opportunities. Try. I think they're going to be sellers at the deadline, but they're not going to sell off any major pieces. They're going to flip some of those middle relief arms that, is kind of what they do. Is they sign a bunch of guys. They do what they've been doing during the rebuild. Is they've been signing a bunch of low cost, like high reward kind of guys that if they pitch well, they can flip them for something. And I feel like they're going to try to flip some of those arms, but they're not going to move any major pieces at all. But it just, for the sake of their young players, it would be nice if they could at least try to make a move where they were a buyer,
Sign
and maybe
Dallas
not a major
Keuchel.
buyer.
Like we've been saying earlier, sign Dallas Keuchel.
That would be fantastic, and I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to cheap out. But if they even could bring in somebody, maybe a veteran bat where they just eat a lot of the contract and they don't give up a lot of trade capital, just to let the team, these young players know, hey, we recognize what you've been doing, and we're going to try to bring in some reinforcements to see what we can do. Nothing, not a major trade, but just something to let these guys know, hey, we're bringing in reinforcements. We're not just going to keep selling pieces off. We're ready to contend.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying.
I think this is the year where, you give these guys experience of playing meaningful baseball at the end of the year. So next year, when you make a playoff run, that's not new territory for them. But you got to make sure that, it sucks because you've got a starting rotation that's just sort of pieced together, Frankenstein together. And that's difficult to last a whole season. I just don't know. I don't think they're going to try to bring in a starting pitcher. But if Dallas Keuchel would be great because, he's just money. He's just money.
Yeah, you have all the money to spend. And look, if they make some minor trades, I say go for it, whether it's buying or selling. My whole thing is I just don't want to see them trading big, valuable assets for some rental veteran. I just don't think they're at that point yet. Don't trade away some of your top guys in your system for a rental at this point yet. I just don't think they're ready to do that.
Right. I don't think so. Yeah. If you could get a guy on the cheap that just is is going to be a platoon guy, a veteran bat that's, been around the block, just to kind of, bring that perspective to the young players and kind of show, hey, we're bringing in somebody, we believe in you, but not give up a lot. I don't think that's a bad idea.
No, I don't think so either.
I just I'm warned about being legit sellers. Like, we're selling, because that's just sends the wrong message to the young players, I think.
And at this point, you don't really have much veteran guys to sell. I mean, a lot of your lineup is your young future guys. It's not like you have a slew of veterans. Sure, you have Yonder Alonso, but I don't think his value is very high. You technically have John Jay, but he hasn't played a game yet this year. You have Jose Abreu, who I don't think you're going to sell. Other than that, you really don't have many guys to sell. The rest of your guys are young guys. You have Yohan, you have Eloy, you have Ryan Cordell, you have James McCann. You're not going to sell those guys off.
No. But you've got one guy on your team that has just been kicking every ass he's come across. And that's Lucas Giolito.
Yeah. I mean, wow. He might have like a 2015 Jake Arrieta like season at this rate.
It's again today, every time we're like, well, he's been winning, but he's the limited number of pitches that he's throwing. Somebody's going to figure it out. And every time we're not figuring it out. It is
Nope, not at all.
it's like, oh yeah, they're going to figure it out. Let me throw a even better gem. And today was one of those. 7 1/3 innings, sprinkled 5 hits, 9 strikeouts, 0 walks. That's his ERA is down to 2.57 on the season. The guy's good. The guy's good.
Very good.
I love to see. I love to see it. I think he's just a cool dude. I'm excited that he's suddenly just the lights come on. The hard work is paying off and the lights come on and he's just pitching amazing. And it's funny because you take him away and man, you've got a real clunker of a rotation. And so the fact that they're right at 500 is pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that one of the nice things about the Sox is that they're very loose and they're having fun. You didn't see that for many years. You saw how bad that clubhouse was for many years in the old scheme. This is much different. Tim Anderson has this new leadership role with a winning attitude who hates the Royals, which, that's fine. They keep throwing at him. I would hate them too. And he keeps, paying back. So, you have a much better attitude with the team. You have a much more optimistic group, a very loose group of guys. That's something to embrace.
Yeah, you can't deny that. I'm just sort of looking at the rest of the White Sox rotation, and man, it is full of not good pitchers.
Well, you're going to have Dylan Cease soon, so don't forget that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Ivan Nova, who's got a mid-6 ERA on the season.
Yeah.
You've got Dylan Covey, who is like a 5 ERA. Reynaldo Lopez, who, man, I really liked last year, but he's having a rough season this year. He's at almost 6.5 ERA.
Yeah, I'm still kind of scratching my head over him because even last year the peripherals didn't always look that great with him. So I don't really know what his ceiling is.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever a top of the rotation guy, but if you could just figure those things out, back of the rotation, that's great to see.
Well, you're going to have Michael Kopech next year, so you're soon going to have Gio, Kopech, and Giolito.
And I mean, it's much better than Ivan Nova, Dylan Covey, Reynaldo Lopez, Manny Benuelos. That is a dog turd rotation without Lucas Giolito.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. You've got a lot of young arms that you're excited about. And the fact that Lucas Giolito is crushing it right now makes it even better for you because you're not relying on a hopeful guy to be your ace. I mean, everybody's like, well, Michael Kopech, that's the guy you have to hit on him. Suddenly it makes it less mandatory that you hit on him because Lucas Giolito is looking like you hit on him. So Michael Kopech is like, well, if we hit on him too, man, that's really building blocks right there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Let's see did you see there was 2 notable first pitches for the White Sox this week? I'm sure you saw both of them, or at least one of them.
Oh, I saw Trubisky, who could outchug Aaron Rodgers, obviously. And then I saw that one employee who clocked the photographer.
Was that, or was that not the worst ceremonial opening pitch ever? And we've had some terrible ones in history. I mean,
I think 50 Cent is now.
Yeah.
Phew.
That
He knows
was
he's off the hook now.
Yeah, that was terrible. But the Trubisky one was epic because that is exactly what, if you could have been like, what would be the best outcome you could have with Mitch Trubisky throwing out a ceremonial first pitch? And if, I could have come up with something, what happened was so much better is to bring out his starting offensive line up in front of him, and he throws from behind him, and then they chug beers. That was epic. That's awesome. Like, it gives me so much hope for this season just by little things like that is, Mitch bonding with his offensive line, and that's his boys. That is huge.
Do you think Cutler ever had the relationship with his line? I don't think so.
Jay Cutler doesn't even have that relationship with his wife.
But he cares about the chickens he's growing.
Oh, Cuddy. So that was
and the elk he watches.
But that was just so cool with Trubes to see that. I don't care that it wasn't even that great of a pitch. Is to have him throw from behind the offensive line and chugging beers with Kyle Long. Like, that was cool.
It was, absolutely.
And then the only other Bears thing I saw is, did you happen to see a sporting goods store put out Bears jerseys? And people are thinking that that's what's going to be one of the Bears throwback uniforms this year.
Yeah, like the white one with the stripes.
With the stripes, which is the 1936 inspired jersey, which is going to be cool. Is the helmets on that one? It's very Michigan Wolverines-y with the stripes on it. Like, that could be cool. I'm kind of excited. Yeah. I'm hoping, we'll probably get that announcement soon because they're having that 100th anniversary thingy. So I'm imagining we're going to get the announcement there. I think that would be a really cool one. I mean, that's the cool thing about rooting for a team that's been there for so long, that you've got so many eras of uniforms that you can draw from for inspiration for the throwback uniforms. I mean, if you're a team like, I don't know, the Texans, like, what do you really draw from? This is the jersey we wore 4 years ago. The throwbacks.
It's got John Lackey's jaw on it.
The
logo is Buttercup.
It's our helmet's got a dent where Buttercup kicked it.
And their cleats have like horseshoes, so every time they walk.
They don't have a tub of Gatorade. They just have a tub where John Lackey spits his jaw into. Oh, man. Texans. I don't really have much else to talk about. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please make sure you hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or the TuneIn app. Follow us on social media at ShyFanPat1, at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com. Share this podcast with your friends that are into Chicago sports, because that's how we grow the show. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears.
Oh, when the Bears go bearing down.